Senator Ken Kelash has been a strong proponent of job creation. He's here to talk a little bit about the bonding bill, the Capitol Restoration Project, and about his career in the Senate. Senator, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. Yes.
Let's begin, Senator, with your background in labor. And the DFL, of course, typically pushes for a larger bonding bill. The governor's proposal was more than $700 million. What do you think of the final package and the final dollar amount?
Well, I think it's probably one of the better packages we could have gotten based on the fact that the DFL was in the minority. I think in many cases we were lucky to get what we've got. We would have rather have seen a bigger bill because there's still so much unemployment. The state still has a lot of needs for reconstruction and upgrading bridges, schools, whatever. And so a bigger bill would have been helpful in a variety of ways. Money's never been cheaper for the state to borrow. All those things factor in, and we should have had a bigger bonding bill, but we have to take what we could get, and it would not have passed without a strong DFL minority supporting it. So.
And the crafting of the bill left out a lot of
Yes,
projects that are considered local projects. Do you think this is a sign of maybe what future bonding bills are going to look like with more statewide emphasis?
Oh, I think that depends on who the majority is next year more than anything, because I think some of the things that were left out were definitely economic development terms and regional economic development things, such as the Rochester Civic Center and Mankato and St. Cloud Civic Centers. They're all going, if built, they're going to generate outside money coming into the state as tourist dollars and conventions come in. Rochester in particular, with the Mayo's influence there, bringing in doctors for conferences, things like that. I think that would be a real benefit to the state. And like I said, I think it's a regional asset, not just a Rochester proper asset. So that's why I look at that, yeah.
And as far as the Capitol building restoration, at one point there was an attempt in the House to pass a bill for $221 million to essentially restore and repair this Capitol building. The result was $44 million tucked into that bonding bill, but if the bigger bill would have passed the House and moved to the Senate, would you have supported it?
Well, I think it's a different, I support the whole package. The thing is that can we step it out over a few years? And I think that was really the argument that folks on the Capital Improvement Committee made as well, is that we didn't need to do the whole 200 right now because it'd be several years before it gets spent out. But that $44 million, I think, does commit future legislators to continue the improvement. The $44 million just gets it started, and you'll probably see the Capitol and the bonding bill next year and maybe even the year after.
That does put a lot into future legislatures. Is it something that should be trusted to folks in the future, or should it have been done in one big step, though? If you would have had control of this?
I think considering. I think one of the things is the Capitol is not a shovel-ready project, shall we say. It wasn't ready to go. It needs some design work. So the way we did it this year, and being able to spend the other, $200 million in other parts of the state, if that was all the total amount we were going to get, is probably better economic development for this year. And based on, I think the folks I talked to on the commission said the $44 million was going to get us a good start and be able to plan for the future and make sure we get this capital back up to the way it was originally looking, and get the maintenance done on this, statewide.
Senator, you had referenced future legislatures a bit just a few moments ago, and you have opted to not seek re-election. So I want to talk to you real quickly about one thing that you were very vocal about this past session was your opposition to the Freedom to Work proposal. You called it the Freedom to Work for Less proposal. It didn't gain a lot of traction this session. So what do you think was the driving force in it kind of stalling out?
I think that the labor movement was here consistently, constantly, and talking to both sides of the aisle and letting them know what this provision would do. I think probably some of the things that happened in Wisconsin, even though the election didn't turn out the way I would have liked it, but I think some of that also calmed things about a strong push for that this year. It just wasn't getting the traction. There's too many good things about the labor movement in Minnesota that I think we want to preserve. So.
Okay, Senator, on your website, you wrote, quote, "Government should work to improve people's lives, to make communities great places to live, work, learn, and play, to build on the successes of the past and prepare for the community of the future." So in your time in office, do you believe that you helped improve people's lives?
Well, I think there's a few bills that I managed to get accomplished, realizing that we had a Republican governor, and then I was in the minority the last 2 years. The mental court's decisions to pull gun rights, getting that added to the National Register for background checks was a big one. Things like the lead abatement provision in the permitting process just added another layer of oversight so that folks that were doing lead abatement, at least somebody on doing that work, was aware of all the hazards that can be for the people doing that, as well as whose ever house that was. Some of the environmental things like lake drawdown and being able to do that, I think helped people's lives. The workers' comp, things like that, I think were a benefit. So I would have liked to have continued in the Senate. I got redistricted out into a tough district, and so I'm not able to do that. But I think that the potential of having a Democratic House and Senate with a Democratic governor for the first time in 20 years would allow a lot of good things to happen where we're not fighting. Well, Democrats will fight with each other to get the best bill from a variety of things, but at least we aren't going to be fighting blind ideology or the constant campaign points that seem to be going on every legislative. Every bill is about how's it going to look in the next campaign. I think we can get past that if we have a DFL majorities and the DFL governor.
So what would your advice be then to incoming legislators of each party?
What would my advice be? Well, I think you have to show up here with the idea that you're going to govern, and that governing means that you have to do the best you can for the people of Minnesota. That the people of Minnesota, I think, have rightly invested in themselves, their infrastructure, their education, and that dismantling that for the sake of tax cuts is not a good economic philosophy, or it does not take us in the right direction. So I think the idea being is that what's been right about Minnesota, and we've got a good track record of that already, let's look at that and continue doing that. And
Senator, and I don't mean to cut you off, I apologize. We are just about out of time, but I want to close with giving you an opportunity to say something to your constituents.
Oh, sure. I've had 4 years in the Senate, and the folks in Richfield, Bloomington, Southwest Minneapolis have done. It was a great honor to be able to serve them. I found that it was very, very fulfilling. That I found that there were some smart people there with great ideas. That I moved some legislation as a result, and I think I just really enjoyed the process and wished I would have been able to continue. So.
Okay, Senator, thank you for coming in. We appreciate it.
Thank you.